Good morning. I've got a project here that up until now have not been on video, but will be today, at least part of it. And I'll take you to the back of the shed and I'll show you what it is. Okay. This is OSB crapboard. This is plywood, as I had showed you before when I was working down here. Well, I had a trim in here. I had to take it out because the OSB crapboard is all spongy, and I tried to say, well, the hell with it, I'll just go over it with another piece of trim here. Well, I bought the board for here, the pressure treated board for here, and the one that was here is right here, and this is pressure treated, but I had caulked it, and it was cemented, literally cemented to the wall with the caulking. And I said, well, probably should have just gotten rid of this OSB. Now, this is OSB crapboard. Don't ever use this to build anything unless it's inside. It's fine inside. And never use it on floors. Up here, it's pretty good, but this OSB crapboard overlaps this OSB crapboard, and I'm not going to mess around with this because then we're getting into this, and we're not going to do that. We're just going to cut this right through here. But I have to be careful because I got the metal in here, and I don't want to. I got a wood blade that'll cut this. So what I'll probably do is to take my skill saw and just go along this line, set it so it doesn't hit this. So this OSB crapboard has got to come out of here. It's all soft in here, but up into here it's pretty good, and then it's soft back here. So I'm gonna try to get this off. And this piece of OSB crapboard here is pretty solid, so I won't have to remove this trim. But I do want to replace this, and I've got a piece of plywood, 5/8, that'll go in there. It's going to be thicker than this. I think this is 7/16. And the plywood down here I think is okay. It's a little softer in the very corner here, but 99% of this is good. So we'll just butt up another one, and if it overhangs, that's fine when the water runs over it. So I'm going to take this OSB crapboard out now. I want to set you up so you can watch me. I have to be careful. I don't want to use the claw to hammer this too hard because it'll go right through the metal. I already did that in the spot down here. Go right through the metal of the shed. We don't want to do that. Gentle. Damn garbage board. But you can see it's a red metal shed is what it originally was. Now, I think I can cut. The original shed, I can see this right here, was only about 5 feet high, 5.5 feet high. I had 5 foot, I think it was. This is the top of the shed. This is where the roof originally was. I raised it up 12 inches, the whole roof, the metal roof, and I just lifted it right up on 2x4s, made a framing all the way around. So this framing, I could probably nail my new plywood to, or I could cut back up to here. I'm not sure yet. I think I might just cut back up to here. Originally, from here at the base to here is the top of the shed. It's 5 foot. I used to bang my head in going in this shed all the time. Then I added 1/4-inch Luan and 2x4s, and the 1/4-inch Luan that I got years ago, 25 years ago, when I did this part of the shed, is you can leave this Luan outside and it would not delaminate. Where the junk you buy now, it all falls apart. Like that little generator house I built I showed you, the first one that was real low to the ground. You remember I had to tear that all apart and take the metal off of it? Well, that was so-called Luan. It's garbage. So anyways, from here to here was a foot. It comes up to about here. So there's a 2x4 and studding on the inside. So there's a stud right here. It's solid right there. So when I nail my plywood, I'll nail it right or screw it into here. But I have to be careful because over here, I took the claw hammer and I hit too aggressively and I cut into the metal. So I'm going to have to patch that up and I'm going to have to pull this out. So I'm going to pull a lot of this off and I'll videotape here and there because the videos become too long otherwise. Very difficult to work here because of this tractor, the riding mower shed. Cannot move that. Very hard to work in here. But the plywood's in good shape. Regular plywood, because the same thing happened down here years ago. It was, you could put your fingers right through it. You didn't even need tools to do that. You get a lot of caulking in here. That's why it's hard to get stuff out. I'm trying to salvage this piece here. This isn't bad. It isn't great, but it isn't bad. So all I got to do is take my skill saw, and it's going to be hard to work in here. But I'm going to have to put my stool down here or something, stand on it, and cut right along this line here. Now there's no metal up here. There's just Luan. And there's 2x4s all the way along, and then there's a sill that sits here. I don't think you can see that, but maybe I'll show you on the inside. Alright, this is not the area I'm working in, but it gives you an idea. There's a 2x4 that runs here, there's a sill that runs here, and there's little 2x4s that run across, and there's Luan in the back of it. Put the light on here, maybe you can see a little better. See, that's how it was made, and then the metal is here. So this, I used to bang my head in this. Now I can clear it. It's 6 foot, so it clears my head. Just clears my head. But this is the original height of it down here, and I used to always wrap my head on it. I got so mad I just raised this thing up 1 foot. Because here it's still metal on the roof, and then there's OSB crapboard on top of that. But it's all well protected with roofing material. There's 2 coats of roofing material on here. You remember the Roof Goat series. Well, these roofs do not leak. So I get criticized for the way I was doing my roofing. But how many guys out there can say they can do a roofing job and it lasts 25 years and I got no damn leaks in it, but yet I went over it again when I built the extension? Many guys can say that, I don't think. So you can criticize those that did criticize my Roof Goat series. There are some that did. Well, there's no leaks here. That speaks for itself. Over here you can see where, this is the area I'm working in right here. You can see there's a 4x4 there because I use whatever wood I got. There's a 2x4 running across. You see where that big Black & Decker 1/2-inch brute of a drill is hanging there. And then you can see the part of the shed that I built and the headers up there on top there. There's 2 2x4 headers with this 2x8 laying on it. And then there's 2x4 verticals running all the way, so the roof is up and won't get my head banged every time I go in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the skill saw out and start cutting that piece of wood I showed you. Set the depth. So we just cut through about a 1/2 inch because this stuff swells. And this swells. It's 7/16, but it feels like about 3/4. It swells, but it's still pretty solid, so I don't need to deal with that. I want this overhang. That's why I made it like that. So when the rain comes, it just goes like this right down. Don't get behind it. But we're gonna cut that so we can break it away without having it damage that part. Well, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that. I'm doing the best I can, and I got to stand on my tiptoes because I can't get anything in there, not even a ladder. It's not going to be easy. And I could use the Harbor Freight tool, but it'll take a lot longer. That Harbor Freight multi-purpose tool, I think they call it, works very well. I'll tell you, I got more than my money's worth out of that. I hit metal when I was doing this over here, and it dulled the blade because it's only made for wood. It still works, but it takes a lot more effort. So I bought a new blade the other day for it. But I'm not going to use that on this. We're going to try to cut it with this. I don't think I went too far. I think I got to set the depth on that. This is not going to be easy getting through here. This is not easy to do. May not be perfect, and I may break a little bit off, but I get some of it anyways. I don't want to cut any further back because I'll be cutting into this. So, let's see here. We got a 2x4 here. Or a 4x4. I think it's that 4x4 I showed you. So we got a nail light in here to drive that in. I think I'm going to take the Harbor Freight and go in here. Come back in a minute. Right here, because I didn't want to take the skill saw and risk cutting this. So we need to cut this area here, and I can do that with the Harbor Freight. OSB crapboard will cut very easily anyhow. And then I can pull this section right out. And then you can see how I did the underside here. But I'll tell you this, a little rambunctious with the claw hammer there, I'll tell you. But it's, like I said before, if I had known I was going to make the shed bigger, you know, when I built this out of a kit, I think it was an 8x9 size shed, I think. And when I built it, I said, that's more than enough shed for me.
Whoa, whoa.
Find out that it isn't as years go on. But I should have built the damn thing out of wood. But I wanted something that'd go up quick, and you know, you put all screws in and everything else. And then I got aggravated with the screws and everything, and I used pop rivets and put it all together with pop rivets and used 90% pop rivets and just a few screws. And I'll tell you, it's a lot of screwing. All right. This is the attachment, the new blade I bought. It's for wood. About $3 more. I could have got one for wood and metal. But I was limited on cash, as I always am. But I'll tell you, this tool here is 20 bucks I paid for this. And I'll tell you, you can mock Harbor Freight all you want. But I'll tell you, this don't owe me anything. I've done so much with this tool. Now we'll cut this off. I'm going to use the old blade because I don't want to put the new one on for this. There's no metal behind it, but you never know if I'm going to hit a nail or something. Here's the Luan I painted black. At that time I could get oil-based paint. I gotta get my crowbar out. Alright, got my crowbar. Use the medium one. I don't really need the real big one. I don't think I cut down far enough using the skill saw on that. I cut down far enough with the Harbor Freight over in this little 3-inch area, but I didn't go deep enough with the skill saw. I am going to have to hit that with the skill saw again. Alright, quick look here. I cut about 3/4 of the way, but I got to get down more. You can see where now it's moving. Okay, we're going to finish that off camera. I cut it back, but I got to trim out the corner out here. Damn crapwood.
Damn crapwood.
Alright, I gotta trim that because I'm trying to stand on my tiptoes and I got an angle, but that's not a problem. As long as it didn't cut up and mess this up, I don't care if I have to trim that out. That's not a big deal. But you can see how this is. So we'll just drop a 5/8 piece of plywood, which is what I have after I trim all this out. We'll replace this whole section. And eventually I'll probably do this, but it's solid now. We'll leave it alone. We just got to take this caulking out. This caulking I put in here when I put this trim in a few days ago, because I think, well, that would be good enough. But then when I realized when I got back here how rotted this is, especially this part here, this stuff here is really bad. I got to get in here with 2 hands. I can't do this holding the camera, and I can't get the tripod in here so you can see it. All right, I still got to trim that top corner there. This is rust, but it ain't all the way through, and I got to fix this. I'll just put some duct tape on that. It's just to keep it, closed up. It's hazardous. I'm not sure what's on the other side of this. Could be something stored on the shelf or something in there. And we got to clean this out of here, and like I say, cut that, and then I'll measure the piece that I got to get out of this piece of 4x4 5/8 plywood that I got that was bowed a little bit, but I got pretty much all the bow out of it. I hope it didn't get curved again, and we'll just screw it right in here. What we're going to do is I'm going to mark the 2x4 here and down here and up here, so that I'll make sure I nail on the joist, because right here there is no 2x4 here. When I built this, these are not on 16-inch centers. Well, actually there's a 2x4 here and here. I think it is on 16-inch centers, come to think of it. Yeah, because I put a 2x4 on the inside in each one of these here. So we're going to mark those so that when I put the plywood back up here, she'll fit right in. I want to clean this out first. I couldn't find any Pheno seal, which is what I used on the end shed. Home Depot don't carry it, and my local hardware store did have it, but they're expensive. It's Dynaflex 230, and that's what is in there that was holding that piece of trim on, so like glue. So I got a little bit of this left, and then I'll find some other caulking to stick in there when I put the plywood in. Got it all trimmed out, and I put a piece of aluminum in here, and I cut out the rough edges so you don't get cut on it when you're reaching on the shelf, because this comes out to a shelf with one of my books and stuff I got stored in here. And the shelf, there's a shelf here and there's another shelf down here, and this comes right out, so the hole is right there with the ragged edges. So I smoothed the hole out with the tin snips, put this aluminum plate on it, put a caulking in there, and then just put duct tape on there. So now what I'm going to do is to measure out the plywood that I need to cut, And once I get that measured out, then I'm going to put some caulking all around in here and so forth. I got to check and make sure there's no nails. I think there's a nail right there. I got to take care of that. And I established that the 2x4 goes here, and then this is the bottom of the 2x4, and the top is 12 inches exactly. I measured on the inside to the header, which brings it up to about here. So I got no nailer here, because the 2x4 vertical is one right here that I can nail in. So I can put a nail or screw actually in this area to hold the plywood. Alright, I got the plywood all cut out and measured, but this is not perfect. So instead of cutting this, I'm going to cut the OSB crapboard. I'm going to use the Harbor Freight on this and go right down. This stuff is easy to cut anyways. I already trimmed this and everything. I got it all fit in there nice. She goes right in and she overhangs this because this is 1/2-inch plywood, this is 5/8. So when this gets screwed in, once I get this trimmed here, it should be all set. I could use the skill saw on this, but I'm going to try to use the Harbor Freight and see if I can get that trimmed out. I really should put the other blade in, the Half Moon blade that they got. I never used that, but I got metal behind here and I don't want to damage that blade, so I'm going to use the old blade that's in the tool now, and we're going to trim that out. Let's go to it. Go to it. We trimmed it out. Of course, the OSB crapboard, like I say, is not great over here. Not as bad as the other side. I'm going to put some caulking mostly down here and up at the top here. I'm going to probably have to break out another tube of caulk. I don't have the Seal. I've got ordinary white caulking, but it's going to have to do. I bought this at a yard sale for $1, and it seems to be pliable Ajax. The foaming cleanser, boom, 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 floats the dirt right down the drain. 50-year guarantee. It's old, but I hope it works. Seems to be pliable when I squeeze the tube. We're going to find out right now. As I ran out of the other stuff, and we're going to see if this works. Oh yeah, she's coming out nice.
We got this at a yard sale last 2 weeks ago. Right on the top of the old plywood here. Down here, I know you can't see me, but
stuff came out good. It's just when I put the plywood in, I'll squeeze in there, and then I'll put more on the outside, and I'll smooth it out with spatula. I put a lot in this corner because there's just sheet metal here. There's no beam to screw into. The beam is here, so that kind of like I can only screw into here and up in the corner there, but I can't screw down in this corner. That's just the way it is when I built this. Okay, so we're going to put the plywood in place now. This is going to be the fun part. I just hope it all fits into place. I have to do a lot of juggling around to get it to fit flush. It'll never be flush with this because it's thicker than this. But a border goes over this anyways. This border over here, which is pressure treated. No, I'm sorry, this is not pressure treated. The piece I bought yesterday is pressure treated, and that's going down there. But that's all right. We're gonna put that plywood in here now. This is the left corner. I had to trim this down about an 1/8 inch to get that to fit in, so we're gonna try to shove that up in there now. I don't know if I should videotape this part or not.
Here, for the 2x that runs here where the wood is, the height of 12-inch area that I built. What we're going to do here is we're just going to hand screw it for now until we figure it out. And we'll get the driver out and we'll drive the screws in, but I want to get this side in. And I'll bring you over here